speaking business, there's a lot of stakeholders, and someone who manages all the little pieces together to get positive outcomes is Brian Palmer. Brian is the president of the National Speakers Bureau, and he's an award-winning meeting manager. Today, Brian's going to share with us some tips about what we need to do to make our speaking engagement successful for the client as well as for ourselves. We're here today with someone who knows the speaking business better than anyone. Brian Palmer is the president of the National Speakers Bureau with over 30 years in the business. Brian, thank you so much for speaking with us today.
Thanks for having me.
So the first thing I want to know is, what do you think people organising conference or the decision makers, what are they looking for in speakers today?
The decision to have an event, spend all that money, and idle, either try to attract people or idle a bunch of key people to an organization, isn't taken as lightly as it has been in the past. So people want to make sure that it's going to be time and money well spent. So people are a lot more purposeful with their meetings. They have a plan, a set of objectives, and they want each component of that meeting to contribute to those objectives, as opposed to perhaps in the past where they wanted an interesting and entertaining diversion. It really has to make some sort of a contribution to that meeting.
And can you tell me a little bit more about that contribution? What are the types of objectives that they might have?
They might want people to be more receptive to change. They might want them to be willing to consider new methods of selling or new methods of management. Companies used to develop programs and they'd be in place for 20 years, and now programs are very commonly a year and a half or 2 years, or a company will reorganize every year and a half or 2 years. So they want them to be change ready, they want them to be more creative, they want them to think on their feet, they want them to be better managers. And so it's pretty uncommon for groups to hire somebody that purely is there to make them laugh. Even the speakers who traditionally were simply humorists now have some sort of a business message in their mix.
Great. And so as speakers, being a good speaker, you're saying, is not enough. What else do we need to do to get booked, basically?
Well, people don't hire speakers to hear what they have to say. People hire speakers to help achieve their objectives. So it's not about you and your stories, it's about how you and your stories can help the organization. So you have to have a system built around recognizing what the organization wants to accomplish and how you can contribute to that. People don't want to hear the same old speech. People are a lot more tolerant of things that are simply remotely relevant. They want it to be extremely relevant, and they want to see a payoff. So it has to be apparent in everything that you do that you're going to deliver a personalized presentation to that event, to that organization. And they want to see evidence of that because they're scared. They're scared hiring speakers. A speaker is an extremely apparent part of the meeting, and if they're going to idle their 500 top people to listen to somebody, that's a reflection on the organization and the person making the decision. It has to be abundantly clear that you are going to, as a speaker, you are going to make a positive contribution.
So you think gone are the days where we can have a certain number of keynotes and just deliver those? Do you think that it needs to be 100% tailored, or what's your suggestion?
No, not 100% tailored. And I mean, those words like tailored and personalized are not very clearly defined. But it has to go beyond something simply like, thank you for having me to your 5th annual convention. It has to be a lot more relevant, a lot more precise. You should say something in every speech that you deliver that you might not say for an entire month. And if you find every phrase coming out of your mouth something that you've said before, chances are you're not personalizing enough. The number one source of complaint that I hear about speakers in my realm, the professional speakers, is he really didn't personalize enough. He really just did the same old thing. It's exactly what I saw on his preview tape. Interestingly, the exact opposite is the number one source of praise. He really researched. He knew what we do. It was like he worked for our company.
Wow. So personalising is important, and that preparation beforehand. What else do we need to do to prepare, you think, that's not included? We might just be getting paid for our keynote, but what else do we need to do before that?
A lot of what determines success is how the client feels beforehand. So being reliable, answering questions, if they've asked you to produce an outline or your slides or your handout and you've agreed to that, stick to those deadlines, because the more often you miss the deadlines or you go off schedule, that makes the client uneasy. And the more uneasy the client is by the time you show up, the harder it is for you ultimately to be deemed a success. So make sure that there's very clear understanding of what you're supposed to do, and you can meet those deadlines so that when you show up, you're not only well prepared, but the client is confident that you're going to be doing the job for them. The likelihood of their recommending you soars when you not only do a good job, but you've met your deadlines, you were alert on the pre-conference call, and you came a little early and you stayed a little late and you followed through. Then people are delighted to refer you. If you did a good job on the platform, but you were a bit of a knucklehead along the way, I think the odds of you getting referred really plummet.
And so besides being a good speaker, you've said a few things, but what else can we do besides being a good speaker to improve our chances of success?
There's an old saying in the speaking business, do I need to be funny to get paid do I need to be funny to speak? And the response is only if you want to get paid. Record yourself and time how long it is between laughs or emotive responses.
Yeah.
And if you're not getting some sort of reaction from the audience every 2 to 4 minutes, you're not funny enough. And you've got to find a way to not tell jokes, but to be funny. 100 people watch a speech, there are 100 different opinions. Half the people sort of want to laugh, they want to be somewhat entertained, the other people want the facts. So in a presentation, you need to go back and forth between the serious material and the more lighthearted stuff. And you need to be able to mix that up so that you make sure that you appeal to a broader range of the audience. You have to have a mechanism of personalization, a pre-programmed questionnaire, perhaps a strict set of questions that you might ask on a pre-conference call. You have to have a system. You can't leave it to chance that you're going to be able to satisfy the customer. And I think customers look for that methodology when they consider a speaker. And if they don't have it, they're apt to turn away and try to find somebody who they're pretty sure will personalize. Because everybody says that they do, or just about everybody says that they do, and the variability on that point is great.
Yeah. And what about, you say that most of your complaints are about not personalising enough. What are some other sources of complaints? What will accelerate us to failure, basically?
Missing a conference call, being distracted on the conference call, accepting a conference call when you're driving in a car, not being fair with your expenses, taking advantage of a client, not making it all about you as opposed to recognizing that you're there to help the client. The problem is that every client is different. Some clients, you show up and they treat you like a king or a queen. Other people say, catch a cab and come to the hotel, I'll see you then. So you have to be flexible enough to accommodate the way the client wants to do business, and you need to have some flexibility and a spirit of accommodation, because they're paying the bill.
Yeah.
There's an old saying that the audience is just as responsible as the speaker is for a successful event. And that might be the case in a school presentation, but when you're getting paid several $1,000s, a lot more of that burden falls on your shoulders.
Yeah. And if a speaker was looking to work closer with speakers bureaus, what are some recommendations from you about that?
Every speakers bureau is different. Every speaker is different. If you're dogmatic about the way that you like business to be done, you might not be well suited to work with speakers bureaus. So make sure that you really do want to work with speakers bureaus, and you are flexible, and you can somewhat accommodate the different ways that they want to do business. Be consistent with pricing. Give them as much flexibility as you give your clients. Be concerned about their success as well as your own, and give them good tools. After the speech, call them up, give them a good, strong debrief, and tell them places that they might find more business for their company, not just where they might find more business for you. Be a good partner, be a business partner, support them. Don't suggest that in any way that you would prefer that the client work directly with you in the future. I'm astonished how often clients have said that to me about things that speakers have said that suggest that this transaction would be much better if you work with me directly. That is grounds for me quickly to never work with somebody again and share with my peers in the Speakers Bureau business.
Great. Thank you so much for today. That was fantastic insight, and I think everyone would get a lot out of that.
Thank you.
We've just been speaking with Brian Palmer. Brian, thank you so much for your insights. We got a lot out of that.
Thank you for having me, Tara.